Part 181. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1806. Is the true Phoenix clan in the Chinese immortal realm? All the dragons couldn't help but look awe-inspiring. Ordinary immortals from the Chinese immortal realm could come in, but their dragons couldn't. Not to mention that since the dragon transformation pond disappeared, there have been no new baby dragons. How can they live peacefully in this fairy land? Not to mention that their ancestral land still belongs to the most chaotic southern fairy land. Yes, it is in the Chinese immortal realm. The Dragon King glanced around and said, "You don't know, but I occasionally have animal soul communication with the Phoenix King. It's a pity that I have been unable to contact the Phoenix Queen." The dragons were silent. The Phoenix clan is different from the Dragon clan. They need a king and queen to rule the tribe together. The Dragon clan only has the Dragon King. However, the relationship between the two tribes is very good since they are both divine beasts. They took over the responsibilities of the ancient beasts and maintain certain laws in the fairy world. It's just that this kind of law is unknown to everyone. Clan leader, if the Phoenix Queen is not here, it will be difficult for us and the Phoenix clan to join forces, right? The elders of the Dragon clan are also a little worried. It's not enough to join forces, but it's better than us guarding this remote place in the southern fairyland alone, right? The Dragon King sighed and said, "The world star that suddenly appeared is inexplicable. It doesn't look like the fairy world came into existence on its own. The most important thing is that our dragon power is faintly flowing on it. What the patriarch is worried about is related to our Hualong Pond." Yes, the clan leader nodded and said, "But I'm afraid it's someone else's conspiracy. After all, if our Hualong Pond disappears, it must be the work of a traitor. It's not good for our dragon clan. Who can guarantee that this is not a conspiracy? What's the plan to destroy our dragon clan?" After a pause, the clan leader said again, "If we, the dragon and phoenix clans, did not protect each other in the fairy world, the passages to the demon world would expand infinitely, and the influx of demons from outside the time domain would no longer be restricted. So this time, we can only fight with the Phoenix clan. Join forces. After all, the world star is too close to the demon realm passage." The dragons were silent again. Originally, the power they could retain in the fairy world could still keep the demon's passage from expanding. In fact, if not for the disappearance of Queen Huang, the power of the two clans would never have allowed the demons from outside the territory to easily break into this place. However, although Queen Huang gave birth to an accident, for now, the situation in the fairy world is still acceptable. But the sudden appearance of this world star made them a little worried. If the channel becomes larger, it becomes more stable. Then it is very likely that stronger extraterrestrial demons will come here. Perhaps the southern fairyland will all fall under the control of the demon world, and then become the bridgehead for the demons to occupy the fairy world. The Phoenix clan lost the Phoenix Queen, and the Dragon clan lost the Dragon Transformation Pond. Because of this, the two clans each hid themselves. However, the ancestral land of the true Dragon clan is in the southern immortal territory, while the Phoenix clan is in the Chinese immortal territory. Then who is going to the Chinese immortal territory? Since the immortal king was in chaos and something happened to the immortal realm, it has not been so easy for our dragon clan to pass through the Chinese immortal territory. An elder of the dragon clan also said with a worried expression. Or, find a trustworthy human being, tell the Phoenix clan about the disappearance, and ask the Phoenix clan people to meet at the new star. The Dragon King thought for a moment and said, "My spiritual thoughts cannot communicate with the Phoenix King. Someone must have done it on purpose. I don't know which immortal lord it is. Is it Chulinjian, or the wind, cloud, thunder, and lightning lord who is said to control the Chinese immortal domain now? For now, we can only pass the news on, and we can't do anything else. Patriarch, Let me go. An elder who had been silent until now stood up. Compared with the elders, he is the youngest, and most immortal Luo Tian cannot recognize him. If it were in other immortal realms, nothing might happen to the dragon clan. But in the southern immortal realm, if the evil immortal discovers it, the consequences may be disastrous. The evil immortals don't care about the immortal way, and they don't care at all about the divine beasts that maintain the stability of the immortal world. To them, the pure true dragon clan is nothing more than a walking cultivation resource. Only you can go. The Dragon King nodded, and all the dragon clans focused their attention on him. Chinese Fairyland. Qiu Linjian looked at Sun Qiniang and chuckled, "Do you want to survive?" Sun Qiniang said nothing because Qiu Linjian revealed his true purpose in front of her. The so-called recognition of her as my goddaughter is just to show her greatest value at this moment. Phoenix body. If you survive, even though you are working for me, you still have a chance to meet Zuyun. But if you want to die, I will use other methods to extract your soul and inject others into it. Hearing this, Sun Qiniang sighed and said, "Godmother. This is the last time I call you godmother. Actually, I don't care whether you are your godmother or not. Getting along with other people is nothing more than a relationship of interest. You and I are neither relatives nor friends. If it weren't for my son's relationship, I would directly erase your soul and turn to hatred. Put 7 soul in it." Qiu Linjian said lightly, but she didn't know that Sun Qiniang and Qiu Qi also knew each other. Who is Qiu Qi? Sun Qiniang deliberately changed the subject. Qiu Linjian had never mentioned Qiu Qi to her, and she had never heard anyone mention Qiu Qi in the wilderness. This was mentioned suddenly, which obviously indicates a certain problem. Qiu Qi is a part of my soul. Qiu Linjian didn't seem to care about telling these secrets to Sun Qiniang. Although this part of the soul already has self-awareness, I think that the sum of the immortal kings will erase her. It's very easy to remember. When the time comes, Qiu Qi will be the queen. However, this is a bit troublesome, and I am the most afraid of trouble. At this point, Qiu Linjian chuckled again and said, "You know, my immortal body was injured and I don't have much immortal power to use. But if you really disobey, then I can only waste some time. I just refined the Phoenix Pearl and don't know how to pretend to be the Phoenix Queen." Sun Qiniang knew she had no choice, but she also wanted to get as much information as possible. What shocked her was that Qiu Qi turned out to be Qiu Linjian's split soul. No wonder Zuyun was on guard, and I almost ruined Zuyun's big event. I don't know why Qiu Linjian asked me to pretend to be the Phoenix Queen. "It doesn't matter that you don't understand," Qiu Linjian said with a relaxed smile, "I just need you to become the Phoenix Queen. The Phoenix clan is recuperating in the Chinese immortal domain. And the original Phoenix Queen has disappeared and is missing, so it can be said that I have been reincarnated and have no memory of my previous life, so no one will doubt me." Sun Qiniang took a deep breath and said, "What about my sword body and the power of evil cultivation?" "This is not a problem," Qiu Linjian said with a chuckle, "there are people of mine among the Phoenix clan. You just need to be the Phoenix Queen and lurk around the Phoenix King. If you have any news, just pass it on to me in time." No matter what Sun Qiniang thought, Qiu Linjian said, "If you do it well, then the fake will be confused with the real, and you can become the real queen of the Phoenix. Wouldn't that be a beautiful thing? It seems that this is indeed good." Sun Qiniang waved the flame and seemed to agree. "I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills." Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1807. In the glazed world, Zuyun opened his eyes. This time, killing Xiaoqianke took a huge toll on him and took several days. And he originally entered the glazed world from Purgatory Mountain, then entered Chaos, and finally arrived at Mayanbei Fairy Kingdom. Now, he wants to return to Purgatory Mountain, but he can only leave Mayanbei Fairy Kingdom. I don't know if there will be any accidents in Purgatory Mountain. Looking up to the sky, Zuyun suddenly had an idea in his mind. When Huang Mingxian collapsed, he hid in the world of the universe. After waiting for a long time, he came out of the universe world and appeared in the place where Huang Xingxian was originally in the fairy world. He also did the same, reaching the fairy world directly. Rather than fly out from here and find the Mayan Bay fairyland, it's better to escape directly. Maybe I will appear at the location where San K's world collapsed. It might be closer to the entrance of chaos. Zuyun didn't know how this idea came about, but he had an impulse in his heart and had to give it a try. Perhaps he had some illusions, thinking that where his world of 3 talents collapsed and the demon refining tower existed, Zhu Feng still had a glimmer of hope. He took a deep breath, completely unable to imagine what would happen if he really got the news of Zhu Feng's death with his own eyes. But since he decided to go, Zuyun would not hesitate at all. As for the outcome, everything is already determined, you just have to go and take a look. After his heart calmed down, Zuyun left the world of Dazhu with a thought. The next moment, he found that he did not appear in chaos, but in a familiar wasteland. This is the world of 3 talents. Zuyun's eyes suddenly widened, completely unbelievable. Not only did San K's world not collapse, but it could also accommodate the existence of an immortal like him. This immediately made Zuyun unbelievable, and he became a little suspicious of the immortal way. The initial collapse of San K's world was caused by his entry. But now, not only is the world of San K existing well, but after he entered, there was no abnormality in the world. Could it be that Zhu Feng is not dead, and he is also supporting the world? Zuyun suddenly used the divine eye technique. However, he discovered that there was no immortal power in his body at all. Strange, where is my immortal power? His heart froze, and he doubted for a moment whether he was hallucinating. He quickly looked inside his body and relaxed after seeing that the Chaos Lotus existed intact without any abnormalities. Is it possible that I don't have immortal power, but I still have spiritual power? Zuyun came back to his senses. With a slight movement in his heart, he used his spiritual power. As a result, he unexpectedly discovered that the Chaos Lotus was actually absorbing the spiritual energy of this world, and then transformed it into spiritual power and injected it into the 9 meridians. He was immediately sure that the world of San K was fully formed. Moreover, it is a world where the perfect existence of heaven exists. And the reason why he has no immortal power is because the way of heaven restricts him. Now, his strength is equivalent to that of the tribulation stage. In this way, the demon refining tower supports the San K world, and finally the San K world will exist. Zuyun squinted his eyes. Since the divine eye technique cannot be used, he would try the void-breaking spiritual eye technique. This is a pupil technique improved by Lin Zhenghong, which is used to control spiritual power. But very quickly, Zuyun discovered another problem. The spiritual power here is completely different from the spiritual power he has cultivated before. There are only 3 attributes. Does that mean this is a Xian-level world star? San K. He remembered what he had learned before, and felt relieved. Without spiritual power to use, he is only here for a period of unlimited longevity. Although there are no creatures here that can threaten him, it is a bit troublesome to walk in this world and find Zhu Feng. The 3 talents can also be combined into one, and they can also synthesize the power of chaos. I have the Chaos Lotus, so you might as well give it a try. Although the spiritual power here is different from the 5 elements spiritual power, it belongs to the world star under the fairy world and is still based on the laws of the fairy world. Moreover, according to Zuyun's understanding, the most important thing is to achieve a balance between the 5 elements and the 3 talents. Chaos Lotus. Zuyun's heart moved, and he controlled the Chaos Lotus to try to transform the 3 talents' spiritual energy. At the same time, he also sat down and looked inwards. Zuyun didn't dare to blink, he just stared at it, for fear that he would fail and waste a lot of time. Really? Without spiritual power, it is difficult to move even an inch. Unless, he returns to chaos again. But then going from the chaos entrance to the Mayan Bay fairyland, and then transferring to the northern fairyland to Purgatory Mountain, is not as fast as walking directly from here, right? It was with this thought in mind that Zuyun concentrated on refining the spiritual power of the three talents. In addition, he might also be able to master the way of combining the three talents into one. Call. After a long time, Zuyun's chaos chain finally produced a trace of chaos power. Not chaos immortal power, but chaos power. Zuyun controlled this chaotic force to enter the 9 meridians, and suddenly felt a very familiar feeling. Yes, this is the purest chaos power. Feeling the power emerging from his body, Zuyun was immediately overjoyed. It can be seen from this that the unity of the three talents and the unity of the 5 elements actually have different approaches but the same effect. Then if we think about it further, are the laws of the 4 symbols, 7 stars and 9 palaces the same? If there is a chance, I still have to give it a try. Maybe it can also help people reach a higher level. It seems to be the mastery of power, but in fact it is a deeper understanding of the law. If I can break through again, I will really not be afraid of the immortal emperor in this fairy world. Zuyun's eyes flashed, and he began to continue to refine the 3 talents for his own use. Another half an hour passed, and his empty 9 veins were filled with chaotic spiritual power. With a thought in his mind, he opened his eyes and directly used the breaking void spirit eye technique. Looking far away, he suddenly found a long black column in the distance. Standing tall and upright, surrounded by black mist, what else could it be if it is not the demon refining tower? He was delighted and said to himself, the 3 talents world is fine, and Zhu Feng must be fine too. If he is not in this world, then he must be in the demon refining tower. Thinking of this, he immediately ran away. Not long after, he stood in front of the demon refining tower. Time has passed, and the last time Zuyun entered the demon refining tower was when Huang Mingxin was here. Now, it has become a fairyland. Who? He exhaled a breath of turbid air, and his eyes focused. The bronze door of the demon refining tower suddenly opened, and he stepped into it without hesitation. But I thought that the familiar first floor of the demon refining tower would appear in front of me. But who would have thought that the space here has changed greatly? It is not that kind of wasteland. But it is a green world full of vitality. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1808. Is this something that Zhu Feng had changed before, or has it changed because of the 3 talents world? This completely different scene surprised Zuyun. After thinking for a moment, he quickly spread his spiritual consciousness. With his temporary spiritual consciousness in the tribulation period, he could not cover the entire first layer, but he could tell the direction a little. After a while, Zuyun found a familiar feeling in this green field. The terrain was still the same. It was nothing more than that plants grew in this world, that's all. The original exit and the entrance to the next layer are in that direction, more than 3,000 miles away from here, and I don't know if there have been any changes there. Zuyun whispered to himself, and then kept teleporting towards that place. As his spiritual power was consumed, Zuyun gradually discovered a problem. The spiritual power here was actually Huang Mingxing's 5-element spiritual power. The spiritual energy of the 3 attributes of heaven, earth, and man in the 3 talents world had no connection with this place. Could it be that this world has already changed before? Zuyun also suddenly stopped and remembered what Wan Potion had said to him. Zhu Feng is gifted and has been trapped in the demon refining tower. I don't know what he is doing. Recalling this sentence, Zhu Yun couldn't help but wonder, could it be that Zhu Feng actually wanted to refine a world a long time ago? The demon refining tower already has a huge space inside, which means that there is no lack of space laws. In addition, the demon refining tower is the refining method passed down by Lian Zhanxianjun, and was obtained by Yao Fuzang. And Lian Zhanxianjun is also good at the law of time. So, the intersection of time and space makes the demon refining tower actually have the possibility of becoming a world. The most important thing is, the world tree and the world mountain have stayed in this demon refining tower, and then they were also contaminated with something. So, the demon refining tower also has the prototype of a world. Zhu Yun took a breath of cold air. If this is true, then Zhu Feng is too terrifying. Such a talent is incredible. To say that his own glass world was formed thanks to Nangong Tianli's preparations for hundreds of thousands of years. The demon refining tower was originally just a special spiritual weapon. At most, it is related to the fairy world, but it is made of fairy materials and the fairy world's refining methods. This is originally a magic weapon from the spiritual world. No matter what, we should hurry down to the 9th floor. Even if we can't find Zhu Feng, we should be able to understand if we find a Niao. Zhu Yun has already imagined that the demon refining tower has become a world, and a Niao must be the same as the dragon suppression stone. Asking him will definitely give us more information. He ran in the green field, with mixed feelings in his heart. He was happy that Zhu Feng had obtained a world, but he was also worried that Zhu Feng was a little too hasty. What if he was unable to control this world and the world collapsed in the end? Would he be damaged? Zhu Yun didn't dare to think about it, and didn't know how to think about it. After all, he didn't know much about the formation of the world. Finally, he arrived at his destination. That illusory mountain was now connected to this space. The light gate on the top of the mountain still existed. There were even some traces of the Dozhuan Xinyi formation and the Wuxing Shenling formation that Zhu Yun had laid here. Perhaps it could not be seen from the mountain road alone. But the various plants that grew later showed some clues. For example, there were no plants growing on the original formation pattern, so the gullies were easily revealed. Zhu Yun could not help but recall and feel a lot of emotion. Stepping into the light gate, Zhu Yun was surprised again. In the original demon refining tower, the first 8 floors were the same, with wasteland everywhere. Even from the 2nd floor to the 8th floor, Zhu Yun had not taken a good look at what the world here was like. Because it was exactly the same as the 1st floor, except for the monsters that were initially locked up here according to their realm, there were no more living creatures. Later, all these monsters died, and there were no more living creatures. During this period, countless cultivators broke into the spiritual world and later in the secret realm of immortality, but in the end they either left or died in the demon refining tower. But at this time, the world in front of him was a vast ocean. There were only a few deserted islands in sight. Zhu Yun used the breaking void spirit eye technique, and he couldn't see the end at a glance. It was very similar to the world sea in his universe at that time, which was later expanded into countless times. The light gate to the next level was on the deserted island where he was at this time. If I hadn't been busy, I could really take a look at this demon refining tower. Zhu Yun smiled bitterly. If he understood this completely different world well, it might be helpful to the development of his glass world. Sighing secretly, Zhu Yun stepped into the light gate to the 3rd level again. But this time, he was prepared. As soon as he entered the light gate, a sea of fire attacked him. He was actually in the sea of fire. As far as the eye can see, there is fire everywhere, nothing but fire. Fortunately, these fires can't hurt Zhu Yun, and he doesn't even need to use the fire escape technique, and he won't be hurt. The light gate of the 4th floor is also not far from Zhu Yun. He entered the 4th floor. A dense forest. The 5th floor, endless barren mountains. It can be seen that these are all mines rich in various metal materials. The first 5 layers seem to represent the 5 elements. The first layer is earth, the second layer is water, the third layer is fire, the fourth layer is wood, and the fifth layer is gold. Zuyun just thought about it for a moment and could tell. After all, he was cultivating the power of the 5 elements. What about the 6th floor? Zuyun couldn't help but remember that the demon refining tower had 9 floors, and Zhu Feng had learned the 9 turns and 9 yang formation. Could it be that he used the law of 9 palaces and the number of suns to build this demon refining tower into a world? If this is the case, it can only be said that Zhu Feng is really a genius. He cheered up and entered the 6th level. Wind. Endless wind. The strong wind passed by violently and suddenly turned into a biting cold wind. Before Zuyun could feel it carefully, the wind suddenly changed again and became extremely dry and hot. After the dry heat passed, another tornado suddenly appeared, sweeping towards Zuyun. Then, the cold wind carries icicles. It seems to be the ice tornado that Zuyun once used. Does the wind have spiritual power? Zuyun lost consciousness for a while and couldn't help but scream. The original Feng family, the Sword Valley of the spiritual world, was a monk with wind spirit power. Will there be thunder in the later layers? Zuyun smiled bitterly and stepped into the 7th floor. Boom! Sure enough, the muffled sound of thunder came from a distance. But he waited for a long time, but no lightning flashed. Isn't it the power of thunder? Why don't you see the lightning thunder snake? Zuyun was stunned for a moment, a little confused. After thinking for a moment, he stepped into the next level. Zi La. The lightning actually hit the 8th floor. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1809. Thunder and lightning, are they different? Zuyun was completely dumbfounded. He allowed the lightning to hit from above his head, directly from head to toe, making his whole body tingle. Of course, this can't hurt him. But after a moment, a mysterious idea came to his mind. Actually, thunder and lightning are different. When the question came up, Zuyun thought of an immortal king. The Lord of Wind, Cloud, Thunder, and Lightning. I originally thought that Fenjiun refers to the law of wind. Thunder and lightning refers to the law of thunder. Therefore, the wind, clouds, thunder and lightning show that this immortal king is proficient in these 2 laws. Sometimes, learning too many rules is not a good thing. It is an eternal truth to bite off more than you can chew. Zuyun himself, for example, always thought that he was not a very talented person. Although he had learned many laws, he could only be considered proficient in the laws of the 5 elements, and the laws of chaos that emerged after mastering the 5 elements. But this is because he has 5 spiritual roots. He has been cultivating the 5 elements of spiritual power since he was a child. He can be said to be a model of diligence that can make up for weakness. As for the laws of time and space, also because he was the first to obtain the fragments of the Great Universe Glazed Mirror and the Great Universe Glazed Mirror, and by chance, he has continued on this path. It's not that he has good talent, but that he has good luck and good luck. Otherwise, how could we achieve what we have today? For example, the original Diwu Glazed Mirror completely eliminated the disadvantage of slow cultivation of the 5 elements spiritual roots due to the difference in time flow. Even why he respects Yesuanhua so much now is because he learned the talisman from Yesuanhua even though he lacked magic means. It became the foundation for him to gain a foothold in the mortal world in the early stage, and finally he went on step by step. At this time, Zuyun was completely lost in thought. If thunder and lightning are 2 laws, so are there 2 kinds of laws in Fenjiun? I don't understand. I don't need to understand these 2 laws for the time being. Why do I think so much? Zuyun was puzzled and suddenly realized what he was doing. Let's research it when we have time. For now, it's better to inquire about Zufeng first. He turned around and stepped into the 8th floor. It is an extremely silent world again. Ice and snow. Ice spiritual power. Zhu Yun blinked, originally thinking it was Yun. It can only be said that he was temporarily affected by the Lord of Thunder and Lightning. What about the 9th floor? The 9th level is logically completely different. However, Zhu Yun did not have any expectations and stepped directly into it. But in an instant, he was stunned again. The small space was actually filled with clouds and mist. Cloud law. Zhu Yun suddenly realized that it was okay to be surrounded by clouds and mist, but the amazing thing was that Zhu Yun found that his void-breaking spirit eye technique could not see through this place at all. Could it be said that this is really Yun law? He screamed. But soon, he came back to his senses, searched carefully in his memory, and determined the location of the altar. Thinking about it, if Bird still exists, he will definitely be in the ball of the altar. Taking a deep breath, Zhu Yun strode forward. After a while, he indeed saw the altar. The altar was as dark as ever, and the ball was also filled with dark light. It was obvious that there was a soul hidden in it. A bird. Zhu Yun lowered his head and looked at the original pool. The water in the pool was also full of clouds and mist. Zhu Yun could not see clearly either and did not dare to step into it. Instead, he called softly. Zhu Yun? Why is it you? When he found out it was Zhu Yun, Niao was shocked. But after all, he was the tower spirit here. He quickly came to his senses, and then the light turned around, and he transformed into a body and stood in front of Zhu Yun. Haha, it is indeed you. Where is Zufeng? Zhu Yun was overjoyed to be able to get Niao's response and see him transform into a human form, and quickly asked questions. He went out. Didn't you encounter him? Niao asked a little strangely. Out? Is he okay? Zhu Yun came here for Zufeng's safety. Although Niao didn't know where Zufeng was, it seemed to have proved that Zufeng was alive. He's fine, and he broke through and reached the Luo Jingxian. Niao nodded and said, Zhu Yun, do you know where this is? I seem to be able to go out to the outside world, but I don't dare. The spiritual power outside is too weird. Niao couldn't help but look into the distance. It's weird because there is a world of 3 talents outside, Zhu Yun explained with a smile. It's completely different from Huangming seeing. This world of 3 talents only has 3 kinds of spiritual power, namely heaven, earth, and people. It's normal if you don't understand it. But, you should try to integrate the power of the 3 talents world with the demon refining tower. After all, your demon refining tower has become the pillar supporting the 3 talents world. After finishing speaking, Zhu Yun found that Niao was still at a loss, so he slowly explained the changes in Sankei's world. After a long time, Niao recovered from the shock. You said that the outside is actually equivalent to a mortal world, and my demon refining tower has become the most important part of this world. Yes. Zhu Yun nodded heavily, thought about it, and said, Zufeng left the tower, maybe it was because of this matter. He might have thought that he was going to die at first. That's it. Niao took a deep breath and said, if I merge the power of the 3 talents world with the 9 palaces spiritual power, maybe Zufeng won't have to run around like a headless fly. Indeed, do you need my help? Zhu Yun smiled slightly. Of course I need your help, Niao also smiled, but it's better to let me understand it myself. If I'm right, Zhu Yun, you shouldn't understand it either. I really don't understand it very well. Zhu Yun touched his nose and said, I also merged the 3 talents spiritual power into the chaos power with great difficulty. Otherwise, I would have no power and couldn't find the demon refining tower. So, you can help me find Zufeng outside, Niao said. Zufeng is here, and he can understand my mind, and we can understand it faster. Then you can send me out, I won't get involved with you. The two smiled at each other. The next moment, Zuyun appeared outside the demon refining tower, but before he could stop smiling, countless huge dragon powers came from the dome. Zuyun was also shocked, and his 9 meridians seemed to jump out of his body. He looked up. Dozens of real dragons, which seemed to be thousands of miles long, flew straight towards him. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1810. These are real dragons. If they don't go to Hualong Pond, what are they doing in this world of 3 talents? Zuyun stared until these real dragons approached the ground and turned into human forms. He did not take action or make any movement to avoid misunderstanding. But my mind is already full of questions. If possible, how about returning the Hualong Pond directly to them? There are more than 10 dragon clansmen with different strengths. But every transformed true dragon is at least in the realm of Lucian celestial being. And the most terrifying thing is, the strength of these true dragons is not limited by heaven. Why are you here? This is just a newly formed world. Zuyun frowned and spoke first. Through Aniao, he knew that the world could be regarded as Zufang's, so he naturally didn't want the world to be affected. Although I don't know what impact one world has on Zuyun's realm strength. But it is undoubtedly extremely rare for Zufang. Are you also from the immortal world? Why did you come to this lower world? World Star, in the fairy world, is collectively called the lower world, said a real dragon who looked quite old. It was only here that I discovered that this star had just come out of the fairy world, so I came here unexpectedly. But why did you dragons come here? Seeing that Zuyun dared to ask them, the dragon clan sneered and said, looking at the immortal aura in you, it's only in the realm of Delugo Jinxian, right? You're quite brave, you dare to ask us. Zuyun raised his eyebrows, it looked like he was coming with bad intentions. So aren't they here to find news about Hualong Pond? Zuyun thought for a moment and guessed the reason. When he was in the immortal mansion, the dragon suppressing stone specifically told him to activate the dragon power in the dragon transformation pond. But at this moment, another dragon clan suddenly said, why do you have the aura of our true dragon clan in you? As soon as these words came out, even Zuyun was stunned. Yes, he regarded the Hualong Pond as the immortal ascension pond and thus created the immortal body. It's just that he usually doesn't use dragon power, so he usually doesn't think about this problem. After thinking for a moment, Zuyun asked, I have dragon energy in my body, so it shouldn't have anything to do with your true dragon clan, right? We are asking you questions, not you asking us. Be sensible and tell the truth. A dragon suddenly became violent, and at the same time, a dragon's power pressed towards Zuyun. Snort. Zuyun snorted coldly and fled out suddenly. The dragon's power was in vain. But Zuyun's move caused dissatisfaction among the dragon clan. They came from the fairy world, and Zuyun was the first person they met. Of course, they had to ask him for some information. It's just that the dragon clan has always been arrogant, and Zuyun is not only alone, but his realm is weaker than them in the fairy world. However, Zuyun reacted so quickly, which was beyond their expectations. For a moment, all the dragons dispersed and chased Zuyun. No, if you stay in the world of Sankei, you will definitely not be able to escape to the fairy world. And if you escape to the fairy world, you won't be able to escape them either. Thinking that these dragons had completely suppressed him, Zuyun thought and stretched out his hand to draw a heavenly talisman. Burst. The spiritual power turned into a talisman and then melted away. The air also exploded quickly, setting off a turbulent flow of spiritual power. After completely covering up Zuyun's aura and body shape, he quickly escaped back to the Liulai world. Call. Letting out a breath of turbid air, Zuyun also knew that he could not stay here for too long. Although it is safe, it is obvious that after these dragons cannot be found, they will definitely go to the demon refining tower, or look for Zhu Feng and put pressure on Zhu Feng. This is not what he wants to see. Lin Zhenghong said that the trial platform was returned to the Destiny Beast clan, and I returned it to them here. Jianshan was returned to Sword Immortal, and I also handed it over to Wan Potion. Hualong Pond was returned to the Dragon clan, but at this time I don't want to, these dragons are a bit too bullying. Zhu Yun frowned. If he didn't care, he could just ignore it. His Liulai world is not as simple as San Kei's world. But after thinking about it, Zhu Yun felt that problems always had to be solved and could not be left alone. Hey, I still have to think about Zhu Feng. Now that I'm here, I don't know if these dragons will find Zhu Feng. He didn't know where Zhu Feng was, but he just heard from a Niao that Zhu Feng had left the demon refining tower. Maybe it's to go to every corner of San Kei's world to understand the origin of Yu Fang's world. We'd better find a way to get rid of these dragons first. Zhu Yun pondered for a moment, and then rushed towards the ancestral land of the demon clan. Not long after, he appeared here. How about I bring some dragon transformation pond water there, maybe it can whet the appetite of these dragons and stop them from being so presumptuous. Zhu Yun touched his chin and took out a container from his ring, hoping to hold some water from the Hualong pond. But he misjudged that the water in the Hualong pond could not be held by ordinary immortal or spiritual weapons, which made him a little at a loss. It's a bit troublesome now. Zhu Yun touched his chin, stood on the trial platform, looked at the surrounding water, and fell into deep thought. In the world of San Kei, when the surge of spiritual power dissipated and the dust and smoke fell to the ground, Zhu Yun's figure disappeared. Where are the people? A dragon looked around and frowned. He couldn't believe it. This was in the lower realm. A Deluo Jinxian with a limited realm would actually slip away under their noses. I don't know. I can't feel the dragon energy on him. From what I see, he must have killed many of our people and refined their blood essence to create a dragon body. Such a human must be captured and brought back to the ancestral land of the Dragon clan and handed over to the Dragon King clan leader. A group of dragons gnashed their teeth and were full of murderous intent. Until Zhu Feng suddenly appeared at the side of the demon refining tower. Previously, they jointly released endless dragon power, which naturally alarmed Zhu Feng. He also hurried over, but he didn't know what happened. Seeing so many dragons here, he also felt the terrifying aura on them. Zhu Feng also leaned against the bronze door of the demon refining tower and didn't dare to breathe. Another person is coming. Look at this kid, he seems to be a bit like the previous one. Catch him first. These dragons don't even take Zhu Yun seriously, so of course they don't look down on Zhu Feng. They didn't even say a word, and they came straight to Zhu Feng to threaten him. And Zhu Feng, seeing them attacking without saying anything, rushed into the demon refining tower without hesitation. Seeing this, all the dragons also chased into the bronze door. The next moment, all the dragons showed a look of horror. It's not strange that there is space in the tower. What's strange is, they were suppressed in their realm here. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1811. One world is not affected, but it is suppressed in the strange tower in this world. This is incredible. And the important thing is that after these real dragons came in, they were all separated and appeared in every corner of this wood spirit land. Each real dragon turned into a human form and was cautious, fearing that there would be an ambush here, so as to kill them here. After all, Zhu Feng revealed a faint demonic aura, and this was because of the law he practiced. In addition to the sword, there are also demonic skills. Zhu Feng's most basic skill is the devouring demon skill. In addition, there is also the 9-life demon skill that even Zuyun almost forgot. At this moment, after returning to the demon refining tower, he felt a lot more at ease. He went straight to the 9th floor and met with a Niao. Knowing that all the real dragons from the outside world were here, Zhu Feng's eyes condensed, and murderous intent appeared in his eyes. If they dare to attack my brother, I don't care if he is a divine beast or something, I must kill them. Zhu Feng looked at a Niao, actually asking for his consent. If he wants to exert his strength in the tower, he must rely on the ability of a Niao. If he is outside the tower, he only needs the law of swordsmanship. It can be said that Zhu Feng's current state is also very strange, like a human but not a demon. And staying in the chaos for a long time has been more or less affected. Zhu Feng, these are real dragons. I can refine them, but it is not easy, unless... A Niao pondered for a moment, not too sure. Unless what? Zhu Feng thought for a while and asked. Unless you can contact the outside world. Zuyun told me that the outside world is the world of 3 talents, which is the 3 spiritual powers of heaven, earth, and man, not the yellow star we originally lived in, which is divided into 5 elements of spiritual power. 3 talents. Zhu Feng was stunned, he didn't know these. But he was gifted and soon came up with a new idea. A Niao, this tower has 9 floors. We use 3 floors to activate a spiritual power. Can't it be connected to the spiritual power of the world of 3 talents? 3 for 1, 3 threes equal 9. Zhu Feng's words immediately opened up a new idea for a Niao. It seems that this is feasible. However, how to control it still needs you to lead. For now, I can only try my best to control them in the tower, so that they can't enter the 2nd floor or go out. This is not difficult. As long as the spiritual power in the tower is used to hide the entrance to the 2nd floor, it will be fine. These real dragon realms are suppressed and have no ability to discover them. A Niao is still confident about this. In itself, the refinement of the demon tower is the heavenly way to suppress demon beasts. And the real dragon itself belongs to the beast tribe. Not to mention the dragon and phoenix tribes. Even the 4 ancient beasts are the same. Then I will go out and try how to induce the 3 talents' spiritual power to form a connection with the demon tower. You trap them here and never let them out. Zhu Feng is also cautious. If a real dragon escapes from the demon tower, he will definitely have no way out. Don't worry, leave it to me. We have been working together for so long in this world in the tower. Don't you still trust me? A Niao said confidently, and Zhu Feng also smiled. If it really doesn't work, then just refine all the players. After a hint of murderous intent flashed across his eyes, Zhu Feng flashed away from the demon refining tower. Looking around, he looked up at the sky above, closed his eyes, and sat cross-legged at the bronze door. Before he left here, he wanted to explore the mysterious places in this world of 3 talents, but he found nothing. Then he felt the movement here, and then he ran into Zuyun. At this time, the glass world. Zuyun prepared a fairy weapon on the trial platform. It was not too difficult for Zuyun to just refine a fairy weapon that could store the water of the dragon pool, without any law power contained in it. Huh, it's finally done. I don't know what's going on in the 3 talents world now. Zuyun sighed. In his opinion, Zhu Feng was most likely to have met with an accident. Don't worry, Zhu Feng. If you are injured, I won't care if he is a real dragon or not. I will annihilate them. He took a deep breath, and then his figure flashed. The next moment, he appeared in the 3 talents world. The moment he saw Zhu Feng, he was stunned. The fairy weapon in his hand also fell to the ground with a clang. This sound did not alarm Zhu Feng. Just because Zhu Feng was surrounded by 3 colors. Heaven, earth, and man, the 3 talents' spiritual power. Zhu Feng is actually refining the spiritual power of this world. After a while, Zuyun screamed. How long before Zhu Feng did he come into contact with the three talents' spiritual power? But at most, he could turn the three talents' spiritual power into chaotic spiritual power. But for someone like Zhu Feng, who can control the three spiritual powers in his body separately, and each spiritual power has reached a balance, this is too incredible. To be honest, Zhu Yun was extremely envious at this moment. With such talent, if his own Liuli world was his, I'm afraid he would have succeeded in creating the world long ago. But look at this three talents world. With the support of the demon refining tower, and then he can refine the three spiritual powers. Given time, this three talents world may have become Zhu Feng's world. It's really annoying to compare people. As a descendant of the Zhu family, Zhu Feng's talent is so amazing. If there is really a difference, it can only be said that their mothers are different. Zhu Yun bowed and picked up the immortal weapon, then took out some immortal crystals, and arranged the 9-turn-9 yang immortal formation for Zhu Feng with him as the body. As long as the immortals who are not from the Lucian immortal realm come in, there is no way to break through here. Then, Zhu Yun's heart moved, and he guessed that the real dragons probably chased into the demon refining tower. The dragon clan is also a demon beast, and they may be suppressed by the demon refining tower. In this way, I can talk to them on an equal footing. Since Zhu Feng was not hurt, Zhu Yun can get to know them. The real dragon clan has been dormant for a long time, and perhaps we can find out from them the reason why they were dormant at that time, and perhaps we can find the source of the chaos in the immortal world. Is it the evil immortal, the outer demon, the demon clan, the immortal emperor? Or is it the human race itself? To capture the thief, we must first capture the king. If we want to solve the chaos in the immortal world, we must naturally solve the source. Of course, this is also related to Zhu Yun's temperament. If it were Zhu Feng, he would definitely behead these real dragons one by one without saying anything. After confirming that there was no problem, Zhu Yun opened the bronze door and stepped directly into the demon refining tower. The next moment, he opened his immortal weapon. The power of the pure water of the dragon transformation pool spread out with him as the center. Suddenly, at this level, the dragons in every corner raised their heads almost at the same time. Although the dragon transformation pool has been away from their dragons for a long time. But the moment they smelled the breath, the dragon blood in their bodies was quickly stimulated and became excited. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1812. Zhu Yun, as the old god was there, continued to take out the immortal crystals and set up the Dozhuangxing immortal formation here. He believed that after he entered the tower, Niao would definitely feel something and would cooperate with him and not affect or suppress the arrangement of the fairy crystal. Moreover, Zhu Yun only used low-grade immortal crystals. It would be too shocking to use the immortal crystal taken out from Jixian Mountain directly. Even immortals like Lin Zhenghong would be shocked, let alone these real dragons whose highest level is equivalent to Luo Tianxian. Umo arranged more than 100 fairy crystals, and the first real dragon came here. The moment he saw Zhu Yun, the real dragon opened its mouth in disbelief. Zhu Yun smiled half-heartedly and sat cross-legged in front of the formation. In front of him was the open immortal weapon. The breath of the Hualong Pond water came from here. The dragon rubbed his eyes again, and after realizing that it was indeed Zhu Yun in front of him, and that there was indeed dragon-transforming pond water in the immortal weapon, he remained silent and did not ask a word. Zhu Yun knew that he was waiting. Wait until all the dragons come here. Really? An hour later. More than 30 dragon clansmen are all here. The leading dragon clan stood up. Who are you, and why do you have me transforming into dragon pond water? Moreover, you didn't enter this tower before, but disappeared inexplicably. It was still the same questioning tone, but it was no longer arrogant. The dragon clan's arrogance comes from their bloodline, but also from their current strength. But right now, their strength is not dominant. Although Zuyun's realm is also suppressed by the world of three talents, what is reflected at this time is that he is in the same tribulation stage as them. But for the dragons, I wish Yun had the right time, place, and people. Not to mention, the more than 100 fairy crystals behind him. There is spiritual power everywhere here, and it is impossible for fairy crystals to appear out of thin air. There is only one possibility: Zuyun is waiting for them to come. Who I am is not important. What is important is why are you looking for Hualongqi? Zuyun raised his eyebrows and looked at these dragons, but no dragons responded to him. Zuyun smiled slightly, having expected this for a long time, and then asked, "Then let's change the topic and talk about why you came to this world. Presumably, this problem is not a secret, right?" The leader of the dragon clan said coldly, "We are here because we are worried that this world is the work of the demon clan. The purpose is to widen the passage between the demon world and the fairy world, so that more extraterrestrial demons will pour in. Our true dragon clan is different from your human clan. Same. At least, we won't have evil dragons. The so-called evil dragon naturally corresponds to the evil fairy of the human race. In fact, the practice of the dragon clan has always been derived from their bloodline inheritance, and there is no need to practice additional laws under the immortal way. Naturally, there is no evil way for the dragon clan to practice. Even dragons don't need to practice deliberately. When they get older, they will naturally reach the corresponding state. This is an ability that humans do not possess. The emergence of evil immortals is mostly due to immortals who want to achieve haste. They avoid the immortal way and use shortcuts, similar to the evil way in the lower world. Zuyun naturally heard the sarcasm in this, but he didn't pay attention to it. Instead, he was a little pleased with the dragon clan's attitude towards the matter. In other words, you discovered this world as soon as it appeared here. Naturally, not only our dragon clan can know about the appearance of the world star, but even the Phoenix clan can feel it. Don't think that if we, the dragon clan, come to check it out, the news will not spread. To tell you the truth, before we come, our Dragon King has sent people to the Chinese immortal territory to ask the Phoenix clan what they think about this. The Phoenix clan is in the Chinese immortal realm. Zuyun narrowed his eyes. Yes, the Phoenix clan is in the Chinese immortal realm. The dragon sneered, seemingly not afraid that his words would anger Zuyun. Unfortunately, after Zuyun knew the attitude of the dragon clan in the fairy world, he would not harm them. He pondered for a moment and said, "Then can you tell us why you dragon and phoenix clans hid in the fairy world and never appeared again? What, you want to kill both of our tribes in one fell swoop?" The dragon clan was still wary of Zuyun, and they couldn't figure out what Zuyun was doing from the moment Zuyun appeared until they met again. Not to mention, he still has the dragon transformation pond water in his hand. Hualong Pond has disappeared for a long time, and the dragon clan cannot find it. But it was on this newborn world star that not only did he discover the water of the Hualong Pond, but he also felt the dragon bloodline in Zuyun before. To be precise, it should be a dragon body. This shows that there is an inseparable relationship between Hualongqi and the boy in front of him. Zuyun thought for a moment and said, "Actually, I have nothing to do with the demons, extraterrestrial demons, evil immortals, etc., and the Hualong Pond is indeed in my hands. If possible, I want to return the Hualong Pond to you Dragon Clan. Give us the Dragon Clan again." Zuyun's words exceeded their expectations. For the human race, having Hualong Pond is like having one more divine object. It can completely transform demons with a trace of dragon blood into the real dragons they use. The Dragon Clan has always been worried about this, but the Hualong Pond has been disappearing for a long time, but they have never heard of a real dragon that is not from their tribe appearing in the fairy world. The Dragon King had doubted whether the evil immortal had stolen their dragon transformation pond, and then used the dragon transformation pond to breed monsters into real dragons, and then used them to practice evil methods. This possibility exists, but has never been proven. And Hualongpan seems to have completely disappeared and does not exist in the fairy world. Zuyun suddenly said these words, which naturally made the dragon clan a little disbelieving. If you don't believe it, you can take me to your dragon clan's ancestral land, and I can return the Hualongpan to you intact. At this point, Zuyun saw that they still had strange expressions on their faces, and his heart moved, and he said again, as for the dragon energy in me, it's just due to fate. I accidentally created an immortal body in it, and it happened like this for some reason. To be able to carry the dragon energy in the dragon transformation pond with your own body shows that you are extremely extraordinary. The dragon said coldly, obviously still not believing Zuyun. Zuyun was too lazy to explain. He stood up and said calmly, believe it or not, it's up to you. Of course, you may not be able to make a decision. How about this? You take the water in this fairy weapon back and leave it to your Dragon King to decide. I have important things to attend to, so I don't have time to chat with you here. After that, he sealed the immortal weapon and threw it away. As soon as the dragon caught it, Zuyun raised his head and said, a bird, see you off. In an instant, a mysterious flow of immortal power sent all the dragons out of the demon refining tower. Then, Zuyun said again, send me out too. A Niao's voice sounded from the sky, Zuyun, outside the demon refining tower, what if they want to attack you? Zuyun grinned, they don't dare. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1813. Seeing Zuyun so determined, A Niao wouldn't say anything. He has known Zuyun for a long time and knows that he never does anything uncertain. If there is any danger, you should quickly return to the demon refining tower. But A Niao still gave instructions before sending Zuyun out of the demon refining tower. I wish you all the best. He sat peacefully in front of the bronze door, still absorbing the spiritual energy of the three talents here. However, Zuyun also discovered that he had not had much time to enter the demon refining tower, and the energy of the three talents seemed to have become much thinner. It may be because there is a lack of living beings here, so the original power is not much, resulting in the lack of spiritual power here. He withdrew his gaze and looked outside the formation. Those dragons have not left. Zuyun chuckled, left the Dozhuan seeing immortal formation, and then stood in front of the formation gate. We plan to take you to the dragon clan's ancestral land. The auras of these true dragons have all been restored, and the one speaking is naturally the true dragon who is comparable to the immortal Luo Tian. But compared to before, he spoke much more politely. Zuyun smiled and said, you can go just as you say. You won't go. This time, it was the turn of these real dragons to be stunned. I have my own things to do and I don't have time to go to your true dragon clan. Zuyun raised his eyebrows and said, didn't you say that I also have the spirit of the true dragon in me? Is it possible that the Dragon King can't feel my position? All the real dragons fell silent. Zuyun is right. The Dragon King can indeed feel the location of all the real dragons in the entire fairy world. But they can't. As for the water in the Hualong Pond, the Dragon King can also distinguish between true and false. After all, there are many great powers in the fairy world, and there is indeed the possibility of forging dragon energy. And these mostly appear among evil immortals. The reason why they wanted to take Zuyun there was actually because they had the idea that if Zuyun was an evil immortal, then they could rectify Zuyun on the spot. The real dragon wanted to say something else, but seeing Zuyun's eyes that looked like a smile but not a smile, he couldn't help but swallow it back. Okay, we will go back and report this to the Dragon King, but you must not have any bad intentions, otherwise, if our Dragon King appears in the fairy world, no one can protect you. Zuyun raised his eyebrows and said lightly, I can understand, are you threatening me? Behind him is the Dozhuan Immortal formation. With just a thought, you can enter the formation. As long as he gets a breath of time, he can return to the demon refining tower again. At that time, let alone these more than 30 dragons, Zuyun would not be afraid even if the Dragon King was here. And the reason why he treats the Dragon Clan so arrogantly is actually to put pressure on them. It is true that dragons are mythical beasts. But the situation in the fairy world may be inseparable from their arrogance. It's not a threat. The Dragon Clan's momentum was indeed weaker, because once Zuyun was not an evil immortal, they knew how the Dragon King would treat Zuyun. That is an existence that is very kind to the Dragon Clan. They can't be offended. Therefore, these dragons do not dare to gamble at this time. In that case, you can go back. Zuyun waved his hand and gave the order to expel the guests. See you later. The Dragon Clan sighed in his heart and cupped his hands. But just as he was about to leave with all the dragons, a sea of fire appeared above the 9 heavens. Phoenix Clan. The dragon raised his head and felt the endless phoenix fire, and couldn't help but frown. Before they set off, the Dragon King had contacted the Phoenix Clan. The Phoenix Clan said that since their queen was away, they needed to stick to the Chinese immortal domain. If you show up rashly, there is no guarantee that something will happen. When the time comes, you will lose sight of one thing. Unless, it can be determined that Xianxia is the work of demons or evil immortals. Could it be that Zuyun is an evil fairy? Thinking of this, these real dragons took a few steps back, and the power of real dragons surged through them. He didn't attack Zuyun directly. But he can't be sure. If the Feng clan causes a misunderstanding, they will have to help Zuyun to rescue him. Otherwise, if they want to return to the Dragon Clan again in Hualongqi, it will be a long way off. The sea of fire fell from the sky like fire rain, and the drop-by-drop flames were like young phoenixes with sharp beaks and wings falling towards the ground. Zuyun's eyes flashed with coldness, and he took a few cautious steps back. Until, these fire rains connected together on the ground, turning into fire phoenixes. The fire phoenix screamed and finally turned into a human form. They were dressed in fire-feathered clothes, and looked arrogant when the real dragon first arrived. I didn't expect that in this fairy world, there would be a world created by immortals. But this world seems to be a bit interesting. There are no other living beings. The leading fire phoenix turned into a man with a majestic face. He looked as if no one else was around and didn't even look at Zuyun. Even if the formation pattern flashed behind Zuyun, it was obviously a large formation composed of fairy crystals. As he finished speaking, his eyes fell on the real dragon. Aobai, I haven't seen you for a long time. I didn't expect you to bring someone here this time. He actually recognized this real dragon. Zuyun said nothing, glanced at Aobai, and then his eyes fell on the phoenix. Miao Yu, didn't your Phoenix clan say that you would never send anyone here unless you were sure there would be a threat to the demon world passage? Miao Yu naturally belongs to the Phoenix clan. He chuckled and said, there is indeed no threat, but that is because we considered that the Phoenix Queen is not in the Chinese immortal domain. Then you guys. Aobai hesitated to speak, but soon he said in surprise, have you found the Phoenix Queen? Yes, so the Phoenix King sent me to take a look, fearing that your dragon race would suffer. Miao Yu finally looked at Zuyun and said lightly, it seems that your expression is not right. Is it the Deluo Jinxian of the human race in front of you? Aobai's face changed, and his figure flashed, and the next moment he appeared in front of Zuyun. At the same time, he blasted out with a palm, and his whole arm turned into a dragon claw. At this time, the phoenix fire had arrived and was just blocked by Aobai. Aobai, what do you mean? Miao Yu was very surprised. In his opinion, Aobai should have suffered a loss in front of Zuyun. As a divine beast, he could feel that Aobai's momentum was much weaker. It shows that this loss is not small. He is not an evil fairy, nor a demon. Miao Yu, if you hurt him, it will break the rules of our guardian beasts. Zuyun was very surprised. It wasn't that Aobai wanted to save him, but he heard the words guardian beast from Aobai's mouth. Guardian. Does it mean the guardian of the fairyland? He didn't know the significance of the existence of the dragon and phoenix tribes now. But then again, did their phoenix tribe find the queen? These are two familiar words, and Zuyun couldn't help but think of Sun Qiniang. Moreover, Miao Yu also came from the central fairyland. Could it be related to Sun Qiniang? After all, Qiu Linjian sent the Lord of Wind, Cloud, Thunder, and Lightning to rescue him from the Mayanbei fairyland and bring him to the central fairyland. At the same time, Qiu Linjian also went to the central fairyland. It's hard not to connect them together. Zuyun narrowed his eyes and took out a few fairy crystals in his hand. He planned to teach these phoenix tribes a lesson. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1814. Thank you, Brother Ao, for your help, Zuyun suddenly said politely, then looked at Miao Yu with a frivolous look and said, the so-called divine beasts that protect the world are just things that use power to bully others. These words also scolded the dragon clan. Ao Bai's face looked ugly. But before the Feng clan came, their momentum was completely weakened, and they couldn't even show any dissatisfaction with Zuyun's hung at this time. But Miao Yu was different. Seeing it a Luo Jingxian who had been suppressed by the heavenly Dao to the stage of transcending tribulation, dared to mock their world-protecting beasts like this, he couldn't help but get furious. Aobai, get out of the way, otherwise don't blame me for being rude. After that, he didn't give Aobai a chance. He raised his hands and turned into two phoenix wings. He flapped them suddenly, and the phoenix fire hit here overwhelmingly. Just like Aobai, the realm of the Feng clan will not be affected. And if Zuyun dares to speak out wild words, he naturally has the confidence. Before Miao Yu could use Feng Huo, he threw down the immortal crystal first. Directly expand the Dozhuangxing immortal formation where Zhu Feng is located. The next moment, these phoenix fires disappeared without a trace in front of the dragon clan. And Miao Yu was also trapped in this formation. The rest of the phoenix clan, sensing this mysterious scene, changed their expressions and tried to bully them into breaking into the formation. Unexpectedly. However, Aobai stood up with a bad look on his face and led a group of dragons to stop in front of the formation. Aobai, what do you mean? Another phoenix clan stood up and roared angrily. It's not interesting, Aobai said lightly, that human race is an honored guest of our dragon race, so naturally our dragon race has to protect him. You. Like the dragon clan, the only person they sent over was Miao Yu, who was equivalent to Luo Tianxian. No one from the Feng clan here can be Aobai's opponent. At the same time, in the void of the Dozhuangxing immortal formation, it was like the void of the fairy world where Miao Yu had just been flying for a long time. The stars are dotted with fairy light. He looked surprised. Some people can't understand that Zuyun, a Luo Jingxian, can actually set up a large formation to trap him, and in this large formation, the light of laws flows, and even he recognizes a lot of it. The most mysterious thing is, the opponent's realm is obviously suppressed, but he can set up a large formation that far exceeds his own current strength. This sun, is an evil immortal? Only an evil immortal can come up with so many tricks. But, Aobai will not admit his mistakes. If he is an evil immortal, he will definitely take action. It is not my turn to come here. The more Miao Yu watched, the more frightened he became. He had no idea that Zuyun was secretly observing him. As long as he is introduced into the demon refining tower, everything will be easy to handle. At this time, even Zuyun had to admit that the demon refining tower was really a supreme fairy weapon. Compared to his own glazed fairy mirror, it is no less impressive. But the other way around. If the demon refining tower had been given to him, he wouldn't be as successful as he is now. But if the universe glazed mirror is given to Zhu Feng's achievements will surely be higher than his. Of course, the premise is that Zhu Feng can stabilize his state of mind. Miao Yu observed for a while and found that there was no clue at all, so he simply flew slowly forward, observing the stars around him while flying back. Zuyun is not afraid that he will move, but that he will not move. As soon as the side moved, Zuyun quickly squeezed the formation formula. The next moment, the stars turned and the stars moved. Zuyun quietly showed the bronze door of the demon refining tower on Miao Yu's route. After half a stick of incense, Miao Yu indeed saw the bronze door, and a strange color flashed in his eyes. Is this the exit of this formation? Is it a coincidence, or did the human boy do it intentionally? The fact that Miao Yu could reach such a state and be trusted by King Feng to come to this world of three talents naturally shows his ability. He did not rush over, but floated far away in the void. After a long while, he whispered, "This kid, even if he is not restricted by the law of heaven, it is difficult for this mysterious formation to hurt me. He dares to attack me because he is relying on Aobai to help him." Feeling that he had guessed Zuyun's confidence, Miao Yu couldn't think of any danger after much thought. Only then did he feel relieved and quickly flew towards the bronze door. Before approaching the copper gate, he suddenly stopped. The bronze gate is different. He thought that if the copper door opened automatically, he would not enter it. But the bronze door didn't move, but he became even more interested. Come to think of it, I just met the exit. This formation coincides with the way of the stars. Come to think of it, that kid can't fully grasp the laws of the stars. How complicated are the changes in the stars? Boy, you are not even interested. Miao Yu was determined, and then stepped forward, holding the pull ring with both hands, gently opened the demon refining tower, and then got in. After a few breaths, Zuyun also appeared, with a sarcastic smile on his face. I'm afraid you can't think of it anyway? I dare to attack you. It has nothing to do with Aobai or the Dragon Clan. It's just because your world-protecting beasts are just beasts. In fact, Miao Yu also guessed a little bit. Evil fairy. Zuyun is not an evil immortal, but this demon refining tower was refined by the immortal refiner through the evil immortal to the lower realm. Therefore, this is also inseparable from the evil immortal. And the use of towers to suppress thousands of orcs was naturally caused by misinterpreting certain immortal ways. As soon as Miao Yu appeared, his expression suddenly changed. But for a long time, no danger was found, and he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. This is the space inside the tower, not the exit. So, that kid deliberately led me here? But, do you think you can deal with me by suppressing my realm? Miao Yu figured out the key, but he never guessed the horror of this demon refining tower. His confidence all comes from the fact that in addition to its own realm, the guardian beast also has an unparalleled beast body. Just like the true dragons are born with strong bodies, their phoenixes are more like spiritual fires and can be completely transformed into incorporeal phoenix fires. This is no less than the existence of spiritual beings such as sky fire. I'll wait for you to come and see. How long can this broken space suppress me? Miao Yu guessed that Zuyun would have no way to deal with him, so he simply sat down and prepared to wait for work. Indeed, even if Zuyun followed him into the demon refining tower, it would be difficult to find Miao Yu directly. However, just as he was about to enter, Zhu Feng woke up. Brother. The moment Zhu Feng saw Zuyun, he was extremely excited. Zhu Feng, you're fine. With a smile on his face, Zuyun stepped forward and hugged Zhu Feng tightly. Tell me, are you able to connect with this world? That's almost it, Zhu Feng said with an even bigger smile on his face. If you hadn't told Niao that this is the world of the three talents of heaven, earth, and people, I really wouldn't have been able to do anything about it. Then how did you refine it? Zuyun naturally wanted to get some experience from Zhu Feng, so he asked quickly, forgetting about Miao Yu. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 1815. I used a stupid method, Zhu Feng showed an honest smile. In front of Zuyun, he didn't feel that he had anything worthy of praise. He touched his head and said, brother, since you have seen a bird, then you must have passed through every floor of my demon refining tower, right? Yes, Zuyun also smiled. I just didn't expect that you would turn the 9th floor into a world, which I didn't expect. Who made me go directly into the chaos when I was still in the nascent soul stage? I haven't been baptized by the immortal light, and I don't understand the laws. If it weren't for Master Sword Immortal who taught me the method of the immortal sword, I would be able to refine it. The demon tower is a sword, and then I draw inferences from it, and I don't even know what the law is. As Zhu Feng said, he formed 2 fingers in his hand and danced them casually twice. He actually brought out a series of pure law sword power, which was much more pure than Zuyun. Zuyun was extremely envious. Zhu Feng said again, brother, I was just thinking about what the law is. After thinking about it, I understood. I don't need to think too complicated. The law is the rule. Just understand it this way. That's it, I thought about the formation. Didn't I learn a formation from Master yet? Zuyun had guessed this a long time ago and said, 9 turn 9 yang formation, so you want to count the 9 palaces, and the demon refining tower happens to be on the 9th floor, so you infuse the demon refining tower with different levels each time attributes of spiritual power, thus becoming 9 different worlds. Yes, yes, Zhu Feng said with a look of admiration in his eyes, as expected of you, you are the eldest brother. You can see the layout of my demon refining tower at a glance. I didn't even tell Niao about this idea. I just let him, he cooperates with me. Zuyun felt helpless. After all, I was the great Luo Jingxian, and I had turned the great universe world into my own glazed world. Even if it didn't work, I still cultivated the 5 spiritual roots at a young age, thus transforming a lot of spiritual power. If nothing else, you may not be proficient in all of the spiritual powers at each level, but you are still familiar with most of them. Zuyun thought to himself, but suddenly remembered one of the layers. Thunder spiritual power and electric spiritual power. It seems. Zhu Feng did not give Zuyun a chance to think. Instead, he reported the results of his immortal cultivation to Zuyun and continued, I learned the number of the 9 palaces from the world in the demon refining tower. And then a Niao followed. I said, there is a world of 3 talents outside, divided into heaven, earth, and people. So I thought, this is simple. 3 and 3 are 9, then I can refine this spiritual power by dealing with one kind of 3 talents at every 3 levels. Zuyun was stunned, is this how you do it? But how do you absorb the spiritual power of these 3 worlds for your own use? This is not easy, Zhu Feng grinned, brother, please don't forget that I practiced the devouring demon technique before. As long as I make a slight change, what does it mean to absorb the spiritual energy of this world? You said it simply. Zuyun had nothing to say. Is it a skill that you can change if you want to? You must know how much effort the demons put into changing their demonic skills to those suitable for ordinary monks to practice in order to expand their clan. When it comes to your mouth, what does it mean? Talent, Zhu Feng's talent simply left him speechless. Right. While Zuyun secretly sighed, Zhu Feng smiled again and said, actually, I am very lucky. Brother, do you still remember, in addition to the devouring demonic art, What kind of magic power have I practiced? Hearing this, Zuyun couldn't help but fell into deep thought, but then, his expression suddenly changed. 9th-generation magic power. You. Zhu Fenghan smiled and said, "Brother, please don't misunderstand me. In fact, I have only practiced this magic skill for one life. I have to seek death myself to practice this magic skill in the next life." I just carefully recalled how this 9-life magic skill was reincarnated. Practitioners finally found out that it coincided with the number of the 9 palaces, so I changed it and it only took 1 life. But who would have thought that I was brought to this world of 3 talents and I didn't have time to talk to you anymore? Well, I met the immortal lord. Zuyun had nothing to say, and his heart was full of shock. What does it mean to be more irritating than someone else? That's it? Zuyun swore that one of the countless geniuses he had seen in the immortal world was probably not as good as even one of Zhu Feng's toes. Big brother, big brother. Seeing that Zuyun didn't seem to have any reaction, Zhu Feng thought he was angry because of his practice of the 9 generations demonic art, so he quickly called out a few times. Zuyun came back to his senses and said weakly, "Zhu Feng, as long as you keep your heart and practice whatever you want. Brother, don't you object to me practicing the 9th generation demonic art? In fact, after I entered chaos from the immortal secret realm, I found that the 9th generation demonic art suddenly became easier to practice. I also seemed to have an epiphany. I thought everything becomes easier. Maybe it's the relationship with chaos, right?" "You already knew it was chaos?" Zuyun asked rhetorically. "Didn't you tell Ania?" This time, it was Zhu Feng's turn to be stunned. "I didn't know where I was before, I only knew that it was in a void. Master Sword Immortal couldn't figure it out, and he didn't dare to mess around. I also came later, you and Aniao I said it and left, and then Aniao told me that he was in chaos." "I see." Zuyun didn't even want to tell Zhu Feng about cultivation. It can simply destroy your Taoist heart. Only then did he realize that it was chaos, and he could figure out the key to making his cultivation faster. "I still have something to go. Do you need to stay here to stabilize yourself?" He could tell that Zhu Feng was about to break through to Deluo Jingxian. "Because he has mastered one more law. 3 talents law. This is the law that can allow Xianxia to cultivate to the level of an immortal king. Although, he finally succeeded by refining the 3 talents pill. But that was because Xianxia was eager for success. I think, with Zhu Feng's talent, he should be able to cultivate it. It's nothing more than. It's just a matter of time." In fact, Zuyun had a vague premonition. Zhu Feng will definitely become an immortal king before him. "Brother, where are you going? This world is just beginning, and I still have a lot of things I don't understand. I want to ask you." Seeing Zuyun's intention to leave, Zhu Feng immediately became anxious. He really didn't understand, and he didn't even know how to go to the immortal world. When asked this question, Zuyun remembered, laughed twice, and said, "I went to the demon refining tower and just tricked a phoenix into it." "Phoenix? The phoenix of the phoenix?" Zhu Feng was stunned at first, and then his eyes were shining. Zuyun frowned and said, "Zhu Feng, what do you want to do?" Zhu Feng smiled and said, "I promised Niao that I would find him a suitable body so that he can walk in the demon refining tower and finally walk in the fairy land. This Feng is naturally qualified."